Howdy, folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. Tonight we got a great show for you. We didn't have this was supposed to be Saturday night show, but now it's Sunday night show. But welcome to my host, co-host, guest, Trina Phoenix and Dalibor Suchy. Thank you for coming tonight. We are gonna hit it off. Oh my gosh, you guys should have seen the pre-show. But anyway, here we are tonight. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, it was a pretty good pre-show. It's like I wish we could speak as freely, but you got to be careful.
Oh,
yeah.
I know. Yes,
right.
I said, to Ganja Shaman contacted me and says, "Oh, I had a bunch of my YouTube taken down. You think I could come on your show? And I need to build up my following again." And I said, "Sure." And he says, "I think I got too smart and too many ideas." And I says, "Yeah, I'm thinking, And I wrote him back and I says, "In the future, we're all going to be talking in grunts." That
is so funny.
Yeah.
LOL. That is so funny. You said that. My roommate was telling me how she was communicating with one of her friends by grunt language. This is because they know exactly what they mean just by the tone of the Yeah, I was like, that's probably our original language was that. Because we didn't need words. We had a telepathic link to where we we knew kind of exactly what was going on just by our facial expressions, our gestures, and our grunts. So, wouldn't that be amazing if that was actually more intelligent than what we're doing now?
Well, I think
at least that would be a way of getting around the censorship, right? Because my very first and only video that I ever put up on YouTube got taken down within 45 minutes, even though it's a 2.5-hour long video.
Right.
Yeah, and I appealed it. I said, this isn't medical misinformation because I'm not a medical professional. I'm just expressing my honest opinion, and everybody's entitled to their opinion, right? So how could it be medical misinformation when I don't have a doctor in front of my name or an MD after it? And, I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on YouTube. So what's the problem?
Right.
Exactly. There is something to all of that because in the beginning, remember, even in I think it was the Bible or somewhere, it said they could talk to the animals. Adam and Eve could speak to the animals. Well, how would you speak to the animals? Yeah, we know that they don't have a vocal box. So we had the power of telepathy.
We know for a fact that they have the same emotions that we do. They experience joy, anger, frustration, depression, all that. And we know that they have pretty much the same thought processes. We know they have dreams that are pretty much the same as ours, where they're reliving things and they've proven this in the lab. So I think it's only a matter of time when we can invent some kind of a brain neural interface that would be able to lock into those brain waves and estimate what we think that they possibly mean, by exposing them to a set of controlled stimuli, seeing what type of brain waves generate from that, and then being able to latch on to that. And I believe that we do have the technology to do it. We're just like not talking about it. Instead, you go to Drudge Report, and what is it all about? It's about, Kardashian got snubbed by what's her name? Anna Wintour. It's like, whoa, so this is important enough for me in Germany to know about? Why? Has no bearing on my life.
Distraction.
Total distraction. Yeah. And most of what passes for news nowadays is a distraction. And, even in the United States, I'm sure you know that they passed a law that says that they are not obliged to tell the truth. They could tell you falsehoods. They could, it's basically, what they would say under the astrology column, for entertainment purposes only. You could say that about the news. Yeah. For entertainment purposes only, and let the chips fall where they may.
Well, and that's absolutely true. Like Sean Hannity's show, for instance, and even Tucker Carlson, those weren't really news shows. Those are entertainment news shows. Falls under a different category. They don't have to tell you anything. It's entertainment.
It's editorial.
Yeah.
It's an editorialized version of the news, not necessarily presented with any kind of strategy behind it, like a left bias, a right bias, or a populist bias, or anything. So I don't know. I think the news organizations just figured out a way to generate ratings by putting forth people that they think are popular, like Tucker Carlson or what's his name, Hannity, and just milking it for what they got, because the ideology of an organization like Fox News is directly opposed to whatever we think Tucker Carlson represents. You know, if you just go based on like the other hosts on Fox News, none of them was like him. And then finally they got rid of him because he was just too far right field for them.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and besides, the things that really matter, we're not talking about them. We weren't talking about it 30 years ago. 30 years ago, everybody was worried about either a Soviet takeover or the NWO taking over, or what else? There's always been that thing with climate change, but you know, back in the 1930s, they were scaring people with global cooling. They were saying, "Oh,
Yes.
all the volcanoes have stopped erupting, therefore the planet must be cooling down." And they cited evidence of like the miniature ice age that they had in at the end of the Renaissance.
Yeah.
So people were afraid of that, and you know, in the 60s and 70s, they were like, "Oh, it's pollution. You know, pollution's going to kill us all. We're not going to be able to walk outside without an oxygen tank." And then they switched to global warming, and now that that's been disproven, it's climate change. It's just like what we were talking about before the show. What were they afraid of in the 90s? They were afraid of the year 2000. All the computers are going to come crashing. Then it was the Mayan calendar, 2012. And now it's, I don't know, Ukraine, Russia, um, the WHO, medical dictatorship. But you know, in the bigger scheme of things, what I've observed in my short lifetime is I escaped from communism in Eastern Europe since I was born there. I was born during the Soviet invasion of 1968 in Czechoslovakia. And to escape communism, we came to Austria, to Vienna, and then to the United States, where I lived for something like 27 years on and off. And in that time, I've observed communism dying in the East and making its resurgence in the West, because people in the East are now immune to this bullshit that we call communism and socialism. So we're not going to try this again anytime soon. Whereas, hey Teresa, uh, whereas in the United States, people don't have any experience of what that means. They think they basically believe the advertising. They believe the hype, and they believe that, oh, it's going to be, everybody's going to be equal, and we're all going to have a high standard of living, and it's going to be like living on the Starship Enterprise. No cash, you know, everything sterile, hygienic, everything high tech, except that, you know, the ad is always the same, but the final product that you get in the mail is different. And so it is with communism. You can vote your way in, but you need bullets to get out of it. You can't vote your way out. And that's, I think, the mistake of that the West is making. That a lot of these countries that formerly used to be free, notably the United States and Canada and Australia, are going down that road where they feel that an authoritative approach to the population is going to make the population somehow more productive. Whereas uh, the opposite is true. The more freedom you give the population, the more productivity you'll get out of them, because they'll have initiative. They'll actually
Yes.
have a stake.
Passion.
Yeah, they'll have
Yes.
a stake in
Passion and
what's.
purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say in Egypt they brought down the strongholds of control, and they started with, you know, medications and all this different stuff. And apparently there's stories of people that have done into past life regressions.
hmm
And I saw something similar to this too, where they pretty much drugged the whole population through the cereal, and everybody
Wow.
ate cereal. So everybody
Wow.
went to like a comatose, lethargic, like zombie state. And then
Mm.
they couldn't get anybody to work anymore. And then everybody started committing suicide. So it was an ultimate failure. I mean, they just destroyed, and I think that was the fall of Egypt was when they did that. It had such a bad result for what they were
Hmm.
trying to do with their making people compliant. It
Hmm.
did not work. And they destroyed us and destroyed everything because it went wrong. I see
Wow.
a lot of potentials like that now. I
Hmm.
do see a lot of similarities.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, Egypt was courting socialism. What was his name?
Yeah.
Nasser. He was very left leaning, and hopefully they're going to get over that because
Mhm.
it really doesn't work. It's never worked before. As a matter of fact, it's a very old concept. People think communism originated in like 1914 in Russia. Bullshit. No, it originated in the 1300s in Czechoslovakia, in my
Yes.
country. And it was in the city of Tabor, Tabor. You can look this up. And it was the first city that was conceived as a communist state, where if you wanted to move there, you had to take all your gold or your money and put it into this fountain right at the edge of the city, and you would be taken care of from each according to their ability to each according to their need. And it was supposed to be like the optimal communist state. It was founded by Jan Žižka. To this day, Antifa uses the same flag that the city of Tabor uses. The divided um, um, red
Wow.
and black flag. That's the Antifa flag, and that's the flag of the city of Tabor, the first communist city, all the way back in the Middle
Wow.
Ages. Yeah, and of
Wow.
course, needless
It's
to
so
say,
funny. You
it
look
didn't
at,
work. It didn't work back then, and
no,
it's
it
not going to
doesn't
work in the
work.
future. Yeah.
And all this technology and all of this, changing yourself and connecting to all this stuff,
Hmm.
obviously this doesn't work either because a lot of the alien beings that people go into conscious states and communicate with and actually communicate with them, a lot of them are claiming to be the future us. So
Hmm.
that means that this is where your transfer leads to, which means you're in a doll body that has no reproduction anymore. You don't get to eat food. All of
Hmm.
the pleasures of life that we enjoy and take for granted, none of those options are available in the new creation bodies. So
Hmm.
it seems to me your old fashioned organic human being might be a pretty special ticket to try to hold on to.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I like staying as a natural born human being, unmodified, because that was my case against any kind of technological modification of the human body, because they came up with this back in the 80s of like enhancing the brain with a chip. Well, this was in 83, and what was like the peak of technology back then? It was Donkey Kong. So had you had that operation done, you'd be stuck with a Donkey Kong chip in your brain. Who would want that?
You'd have to wonder, right? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
who actually signs up for this stuff? But
Hmm.
to each their own, right?
Yeah, because if it's hardware, you're going to have to upgrade it sooner or later. And even
That's
if it's,
another thing. I have people that work for people who need medical assistance,
hmm
and they do caregiving and nursing and all these different levels of where they're working with people in their homes. I'm seeing a really big issue that a lot of people may not be aware of. It's the problem with replacing the batteries and the technologies.
the pacemaker, yeah.
So we've got Parkinson's patients that now have had these chips in for a while, and their
hmm
batteries go dead. Well, when their batteries don't work because their brain's been getting help to do these things, it's not
hmm
doing it at all on its own anymore. So when
hmm
they lose their battery, they're losing full function of their bodies,
hmm yeah.
and they're telling them 6 to 9 months to get a battery replacement. So for 6 to 9 months, they can't go to the bathroom, they can't walk, and they can't eat.
Hmm. And it's even more insidious for like the
It's feeding
pacemakers.
tubes. It's yeah, it's bad. It's surgeries. I mean, this is intense. And there's only in here in my state, apparently they only have 12 physicians at all
Hmm.
in the United States doing battery replacements for all of these chips. So all these people getting all this stuff, you guys have a couple years, but your batteries are going to drop. And when they do, you may not have any help to get these replaced, especially with the insurance changes. They basically were denying them to replace the batteries after they got all the information off how they work and how to do it to people. As soon as
Hmm.
they're done with these people, They're just like, we don't care if you don't work. We don't care if your battery's dead. It's too
hmm
bad for you. Too bad.
And not just that, but with the pacemaker, it's kind of insidious because those batteries have a life of about 10 years. And like, what if you have that implanted when you're about, let's say, 75? And then by the time you're
Mhm.
85, you become senile and you lose your right to make your own decisions, make your own medical decisions. And your sons or daughters or whoever's taking care of you decides not to allow the upgrade, not to allow an operation to up, because I know somebody that this happened to. You know,
Right.
he was senile, and his daughter wanted him dead so she could inherit his stuff. And she said, "No, I refuse the operation to upgrade the battery," and the man died.
She killed him
Very
without
ins-
killing him.
she killed him without killing him. Yeah, it's very insidious. Very. And as you pointed
Yes.
out, the brain starts atrophying
But
once he
but you
starts
but you got
relying
to
on the
think too.
technology.
Okay, you got to think too. If
hmm
somebody is senile and they're not thinking and they're losing their memory and they're not functioning anymore and they need nothing but constant assistance,
hmm hmm
should you sustain that life?
Well, somebody else was sustaining that life. The daughter
I know,
herself
but
didn't
why?
have any
But
interaction with
should
him.
we? Would
hmm
nature sustain that life?
Yeah, tough question. That's a tough question.
No, it wouldn't. It would not.
hmm
The sick ones always die first. They sacrifice
hmm
themselves for the great of the whole.
hmm
Hmm.
So
hmm
nature goes completely in opposition of what they're doing. Because that's
But
why we do age, because we age because it's our time to transition. And we keep
hmm
extending and extending. And that to me, that's going to be the ultimate failure because if you think that you're your body, that's level one of your soul needs a little bit of work. Level
hmm
two is this is against nature. So
hmm
anything that's going against nature to me is a big red flag. And all of this is going against nature. Modifying the DNA, that goes
hmm
against nature. Last time we
Oh yeah.
did this, apparently there was a big flood that killed the whole world.
hmm
So this is serious business. And people are playing God, which they
hmm
probably shouldn't be doing, but nonetheless they are. But that's what I'm seeing now. I'm seeing it's like we're going to have two different, groups of people, ones that want to go on that technological path and they're going to be at the mercy of the masters who have created it. Unfortunately, that's going to be a rough ride when things go wrong because there's going to be no help.
hmm
If
Well,
you're organic and you're still connected to source and soul and spirit, it's kind of, you're going to be okay one way or another because you're
hmm
not going to be locked in to a frequency cage that you can't get your light out of. So
hmm
this is a potential I keep seeing, and it's pretty spooky to me. And I don't know if it's that's really going to happen. But boy, I keep being shown this is exactly what's going to happen.
I
And
think
I
it's
was like,
history repeating
wow,
itself.
it's
Yeah, I
another
think
26,000 year slavery cycle.
yeah,
yeah,
because there's evidence that the human genome has been jacked with, that all of us are
Oh my
descendants of
gosh,
these
so many
mutants,
times. You're
like
so right.
200,000 years ago. Yeah, and the
Yeah.
people that did this we call the Anunnaki, and there's actual
Yes.
proof of this in the genetic code
Yes.
itself. Just the
Yes.
mere fact that a human being is subject to about 3,000 different genetic diseases when ordinary mammals get 2 to 3 at most, which means
Yes.
their genome has never been jacked with to the extent that ours was. And furthermore, the evidence indicates that it was jacked with using a level of technology that we had to do this sort of thing in the 1990s, which was pretty much hit and miss, trial and error, where we knew something but not everything about like transfection of genes, how telomeres work, that sort of thing. So it's been tried
I
before,
think
and we are the result.
I think it goes all the way back to where we have the evidence of the demigods.
hmm
I think
Yeah,
that's where the original splice and dice was started. It was all the way back with the demigods because
yeah,
from the
and
demigods we had all these things coming out that were never here before. Half horse,
hmm
half human, you
hmm
know, all
hmm
these things that were never here before. So I think it goes back all the way as far back as this earthly realm creation thing begun. I think it literally has been happening on this planet
hmm yeah,
since it went. since it went dense, because when the Lemurians, the light bodies, we didn't have flesh yet. So as soon as we took on the flesh, that was the serpent entered into the garden. That was the first genetic modification. It brought us down in our vibration enough to trap the light, lock you into a construct, and therefore now we create in this world, and we can create bodies, and we're creating our own avatars and walking around inside of them. But this is the response to what was done with our code. And now instead of creating our natural organic light bodies, we're now in flesh bodies.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
I
I think the main perpetrator was Enki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally, because and even the Sumerian texts seem to not only reflect that, but there's so many anomalies that we still can't explain. Like you mentioned, the human-animal hybrids. Well, one of them in Egypt was called ptah. Very unusual word, Ptah. Well, the Czech word for bird is ptak, Ptak.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are the chances, literally? Which also seems to indicate, because of these resemblances of, my language to like ancient Egyptian to ancient Sumerian, that the world must have been at one point linked just as we are today with something like an internet. They must have had something like that.
Well, I think the internet is a copy of what we've always had organically with the Ethernet. Because
Yeah.
the Ethernet is the internet. We're just tapping into the Ethernet. We're plugging into the data streams. But the Ethernet is just like the internet. The internet's nowhere. You can't grab the internet. No, but we can put it through a router, plug into it, connect to it. We can do that with our consciousness. It's the same thing. So they're just mimicking what we already are organically. So that's what I'm saying. Everything they're offering you is already what you can do. So anything that they're offering you, you should know, I can do this myself, or they're trying to trick me to tell me that I need them to do what I can already do. So this is the greatest thing. We've been duped over and over and over again. Instead of becoming like Jesus, which is why we were created to come here and do this, was to do those things, to do the miracles, to walk on the water, to do all of it. We are capable of these things, but we just don't believe it. We don't believe it. So we're giving all of our power away to people telling us they're going to give us tools and bells and whistles of what we already are. Think about it. Our cell phones. We communicate by our cellular structure, our atomic structure, which is through the blood and the water. That is how we communicate. We are cell phones, and we're utilizing the Ethernet. It's like everything is already what we are. So it's like all of these abilities, and they're saying, oh, you're going to be able to have super consciousness and be so smart. That's not true. Your brain can hold more probably more information than anything on this planet could ever hold. Any computer could never probably outprocess the potential of the super consciousness of the human being. But if you try to put all that information that mainframe can just sit and store, your brain would explode, because this is like a little computer reading the conscious field, but it's only taking in streams. If you took in the whole thing, you'd blow up. You would be like a computer just having a full-blown meltdown. We're exactly the same. We're identical to that. And the more I look at this stuff, it's like, we are the most phenomenal technology ever created on this planet. And our technology now, I think, is so dumbed down compared to what we were organically brought in with. I think it's like you can't even compare. So everybody thinks we're so great. I think we're tiny, dumbed down little beings, fractals of what we organically originally came from. So
I agree. I agree, and here's why. Like AI can have more intelligence and more memory than we can, but that's because it's in a different stage of evolution. But it cannot mimic any of the superpowers of the human biomind. No AI can do telekinesis. No AI can do precognition. No AI can do healing or prophecy or things
Yes.
like that,
Yes.
which we've documented as being factual and extant since the dawn of recorded history. Does
The
AI have
scariest
dreams?
part,
No.
no, and the scariest part for me with the this whole AI is that we not all the time, we try, but not all the time, but we have a strong level of discernment. Like if
Yeah.
somebody's lying to us or if they're deceiving us to harm us, we have
Hmm.
some kind of awareness about that. We have a feeling, emotional knowing that gets
Instinct.
activated in our being. This AI doesn't have that plug-in. So it
Hmm.
can be programmed with false information and believe the information that's been programmed, and it can be completely wrong, but yet it will think that it is true because it does not have the ability to know a lie.
That's
It
right.
doesn't know how to discern.
Yeah, it doesn't have instinct. An instinct is
None.
something that's inborn, that's with you since the day you were born. I mean, an instinct is also an aspect of what you would call the paranormal because, my mom, she's very good at herbs. She knows which herbs do what. And we've always had a rabbit. So, as an experiment, when our rabbit was very young, she just put like 15 different herbs right in front of him. And he only picked the ones that were safe to eat. He
Yep.
completely avoided the poisonous ones, and nobody
Yes.
told him that it was poisonous. Nobody, you know, we don't have
And
that
see,
instinct, but the rabbit
that's
does.
that's I think the beauty of the soul. It's like the rabbit, when the rabbit comes in to be the rabbit takes on the rabbit template of the
Hmm.
perfect blueprint of the rabbit, and then
Yeah.
the rabbit anchors that template into its body. But through the physical world, there might be some manipulations through that because things aren't working the same. But that
Hmm.
blueprint, even if the physical body isn't forming the exact same template because it's not available energetically through vibration, it'll
Hmm.
still replicate so closely. And the thing is like that's what we're doing here is we're just replications of what we really are. But we're
Yeah.
little, we're small, we've been dumbed down, our autonomic nervous system has been hijacked, our endocrine system has been hijacked. We have
Hmm.
all of these things that are keeping us to connect to the universal conscious mind or God, whatever people want to call it. But it's all one thing that makes all of it. So
Hmm.
this universal massive consciousness is like we're totally naturally plugged into this. And
Hmm.
these organic structures, this is the soul gets programmed through these blueprints of creation that are perfect. They're
Hmm.
perfect. And then they get screwed up when they come into the different frequencies. That's why Tesla said, frequency, light, and vibration. You know those, you know everything. Because
Hmm.
you can shoot an image at something, but it can only take on what it is surrounded by in its environment. So our
Hmm.
environment has been destroyed and they're
Hmm.
destroying it further. And that's affecting our potentials with our bodies being, the avatars and having the connection to the universal consciousness and the blueprints.
Hmm.
It's like it's been cut off from us so hard. And I think that's why they talk about the soul trap, is because the soul is having a hard time breaking through the false vibratory fences that you've created with your belief systems, which
Hmm.
keep you locked in an artificial construct of thought. Because
Yeah.
that's what this is. This is all
Hmm.
mind,
Hmm.
because the mind is the bridge between heaven and earth. So the
Hmm.
mind is what makes that transfer. So the mind is the processor, and we have a universal mind, but then we have a human mind. So, and then you have a heart mind, and you have a gut mind. So you have
Hmm.
all of these mental processors processing within you. But then you look at the ancient stories of the seven worlds of earth. Seven
Hmm. The
worlds.
seven
Very
chakras,
interesting. Yeah, seven chakras, seven Elohim, and
seven
also,
planets.
what if it's seven planets? And what if those seven planets are actually in the Earth realm? What if
Hmm.
this is all a
Hmm.
big realm and those
Hmm.
seven planets are the
Hmm.
different energy centers of your body? And when you leave your physical body, based on your rate of vibration, is what portal you're going to be traveling through to which other body part in the seven world system are you going to land in? Are you going to land in Father Time in Saturn? Are you going to land in the bowel?
Hmm.
Are you going to be in the gut, going through
Yeah.
digestion and being ripped
Yeah.
apart and being digested? Are you going to
Hmm.
be in the lungs? Are you going to be in the heart? What center are you going to resonate and vibrate and go into? Because you're going to go back into the body
Hmm.
that you came, and that body is a universal body, and it contains our solar system within its belly.
Yeah, just the fact that it's called a solar system, soul, and
Soul,
soul
our
trap.
system.
Yeah, soul,
Yes,
our system, and it's a
soul,
this
our system.
part of the
Yes.
soul trap is like the misuse of technology that they're using with distractions, like all this celebrity stuff, sports scores, wars which may or may not be happening, mass shootings that may or may not be occurring, that forces people to
Mhm.
constantly think about these things and obsess over them and waste time, essentially waste time on things that
Yeah.
don't really matter in the greater scheme of things.
It's so interesting that we're talking about this because I wrote this down, I think 2 days ago. And I wrote down the great work. We were born to remember where we came from. Who are
Hmm.
you? What happens when you die? What really is the earth? Is it a realm or is it a dimension? Is it a realm that has many dimensions existing within it? And all of those dimensions, can they fractal out into multiple dimensional realities? It's
Hmm.
so big what I see. And then I look at this. Is it an illusion? Is it just Maya? Is Maya just a reflection of our own thoughts manifesting outwardly in our reality? And
Hmm.
that's the effect of having consciousness.
Hmm.
Is all of this just an inverted copy of that which is organic and real and eternal?
And
What
if
is
it
the
is, then
potential?
what does that show? If it is, then it
Right.
shows intelligent design and nothing more.
Yes.
Because at this point, we still don't have any specific proof of any of this astronomical stuff that we believe to be true, like the distance from the Earth to the Sun. Unless you know the exact size of what you're measuring, you can't measure the distance, and you can't measure the distance unless you know the size. So it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation where we have no idea how far away the stars are. And if you do the math, the actual math, where, for example, the rate of intensity of moonlight is 1/10,000th that of the sun. If you use the inverse square law and move towards the moon, by the time you're 5 kilometers from the surface of the moon, that moon is giving off something like 100,000 times more intensity than the sun. 100,000 times more radiation than the sun, which doesn't make
Mhm.
sense. If you were to land there, we've been shown, various things that appear to show NASA making fake movies on the ISS with people floating around on wires and stuff like that. So that's part of the soul trap and part of the deception because we can fly, we do it in our dreams, and our dreams are only like a lower aspect of the fourth vibration, fourth dimension, where we can access that on a temporary basis when we dream.
Yeah, and when you're a child, when you're before age 7, you're in theta, which is a dream state.
Exactly.
So children are constantly walking in the dream state. And Nikolai Tesla, just like I did, we both remembered flying. He jumped
Hmm.
off the roof, and I did too. So,
Hmm.
yeah, we think
Yeah.
we can fly because we can. But the
Hmm.
thing is that was what the Lord was explaining to me when I was on the roof, and I'm like, I'm going to jump. And he's like, you can't. And I'm like, don't tell me I can't fly. I know I can fly. And I was arguing. And,
Hmm.
I was like, don't you tell me what I know. No. He's
Hmm.
like, no, you're going to go splat like on TV on the cartoons. And he would show me the Woody Woodpecker and Roadrunner and a splat coyote, splat, splat. And I was like,
Hmm.
I'm not going to go splat because I fly.
Hmm.
And I'm like 3 years old. And I'm like, I knew to know how to fly. And I was like serious, and he knew I was gonna jump.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
did. But this is what I mean. He was telling me something was blocking me here, that I wasn't able to accomplish what I know I can do. So
Hmm.
that was a conundrum. So when I did jump off, that was the first and only time I've ever felt direct, like angelic intervention.
Hmm.
Hands, invisible hands threw me into the bushes instead of letting me hit the ground. So I
Hmm.
still cried and got hurt, but it wasn't like hitting the ground. So it was very different. And I got thrown underneath the roof. That, like I said, defied laws of gravity, the whole thing. So there's these powers that are definitely real, but for some reason, with whatever they've done with the technology and the Saturn matrix, moon matrix, and the Sirius Orion projector eye in the sky system, with those aspects, we are so cut off from our natural antenna stream to the divine. And I think if we had that connection back, we would be levitating again. We would be floating and flying. We would be able to jump off the buildings and we could float to the ground. It would not be an issue. It would not at all. I just saw a story of a yogi the other day, and he was contemplating these same questions. And he was like, I'm an illusion. I'm not real. And this is all a matter of my control. And he was so frustrated and wanted to remember if he truly could activate these abilities, he was willing to risk his own life to do it. So he jumped off of a multi-story building. And he says, as sure as I am here right now, if this is possible, the earth will catch me and it will keep me from harm. And he literally landed on his feet and didn't have one broken bone.
Yeah.
So he knew it was real, but it took such an intense emotion of either this is going to work or I'm going to go splat. You know what I mean? But he just jumped anyways out of faith. And the faith is what carried him. And the earth responded to that faith.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's people that have demonstrated similar feats, on television. There was a guy who could like stop a bullet with his abdomen. He had a gun aimed at his abdomen. He could stop it. Or people who could start fires with their just by concentrating on it. Or people that can hypnotize animals.
I met somebody in person who could do that. He could start fire in his hand and he could light light bulbs in his hand.
Yeah,
I've seen that. I've seen one human being actually do that, and it was really wild.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah, I know. Yeah, I've seen similar things, but see, that's one of the things that they did to us when they screwed with our DNA. They not only shortened our lifespans and made us more docile, made us less intelligent, but they also cut out our superpowers of the human biomind or psychic powers. They cut all of that out. And because that is a function of the DNA, and part of that could be with the DNA modification of the foods that we eat, where a lot of that's changed.
It is, but the beautiful thing is they show me that the blueprint, they can modify everything in the physical reality all they want to. They can't modify the blueprint. So the blueprint of man and the blueprint of nature and the blueprint of like the big trees and all the stuff that used to be on the earth before, they're still existing in their perfect form. They can't be altered. It's like this, they show me it's the one thing they can't touch. And these blueprints, I do think we're going to be able to have access to start reactivating them. And they found now with epigenetics, if you tell your DNA, it will respond to what you tell it. So you can put your mind and your body into a different environment and command it with different information, different words, different stimulus, different lights, different frequencies, and you can literally change the DNA.
Yeah, even like inborn characteristics like the color of your eye. I know somebody who was born with green eyes and changed them to blue because she wanted blue eyes.
You know what? I'm doing that now, Dalibor, and it's almost transferred. I almost have blue eyes now, but my eyes were actually hazel green. They were yellow green my whole life growing up.
Oh my God! Wow! So
and they're blue green now. I have an inner green ring and an outer dark blue ring now, and I never had that until I was in my 30s.
See, that's proof. That's proof to people on the outside that you can do anything you want. Basically, that you have that power. That the powers, the superpowers, are real, and that any one of us can manifest them.
Remember, I had that vision of cutting myself out of the serpent, and that was a major breakthrough for my consciousness. That's when my eyes started changing. Was right after that.
Oh wow, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it had something to do with my consciousness. Yeah.
Mhm. See, yeah, a lot of this happens to people after undergoing a traumatic consciousness, usually where like the conscious mind is somehow inhibited, like a drug incident or psychedelic experience of some kind, or an out of body experience, a near death experience, or other like out of the ordinary traumatic event that they
You know,
start gaining these abilities.
I've done psychedelics a few times in my life, but I'm not a big partaker ever. The most profound experiences I ever had in my whole life were when I was a kid,
Hmm.
and there was
Yeah,
nothing involved with that. That was just me and
yeah.
my dog and nature, just laying down and letting you just get out of your body and just go. And it
Hmm.
was so organic and so natural and so easy, and I could do it like that. I didn't
Yeah.
have to get into a relaxed state and light candles and do. I know none of that needed. I was just like, okay, close my
Hmm.
eyes. I could be sitting up. I could be riding my dirt bike, and I could literally transfer my consciousness to the higher realms and go talk to the people I liked, like the Lord and other beings and whatever,
Hmm.
just by simply wishing it to be so. And there
Hmm.
was no travel time. I was
Hmm.
just instantly there. And I still
Hmm.
do that now. When I travel, most people astral travel, they like get out of their body, they go through the whole. I don't. I'm like, oh, I'm
Hmm.
going to go somewhere. I like close my eyes and boom, I wake up. I'm there. I'm just instantly there. So I just
Hmm.
go straight to it by thought. I don't need any of that other stuff. I just go. So
Hmm.
trust your process if you're just people that do that. Cause a lot of people are like, they don't think they're doing it because it's so natural and so easy. It's like, no, that's just how
Hmm.
you do it. So
Hmm.
it's all right. It's okay. So, but
Hmm.
yeah, we're all doing it different.
Yeah, and speaking of like the flying thing, I distinctly remember as a kid, I was obsessed with flying, and I always had like these flying dreams as a child. And we lived on a pretty big property in New Jersey, and I I spent my free time by making hang gliders and jumping off the barn. I started out with like parachutes because my father, he worked in a factory that handled all these like materials that came on rolls. A lot of it was like tarp type material, so I had all of this stuff to play around with, and plus, like he played around with wood and stuff. So I would use a lot of this, like use lumber, and make these contraptions that I would use to actually take off in flight, but for very short distances. And I was always like
Right.
trying to recreate that same feeling I would get when I would dream about these sorts of things.
Yes,
Mm.
So
that's the power of a child. That
yeah,
just raw anticipation and excitement. And you wake up and you're like, what am I going to do today? We've lost that. That's what they've
yeah,
squashed out of us. And that's our greatest superpower. So
hmm
if we could find a way to get back to that, oh, that's going
yeah.
to be
And we've
miraculous.
we've lost it in more ways than one, because like would I try any of this stuff on my own nowadays in my age? No, I'd be too afraid. I'd be like, oh my god, I'm gonna break my leg, I'm gonna break my arm, I don't, my medical insurance is not gonna cover this, uh, things like that. Whereas as a kid you don't think about these things, you just do them.
Yeah. That was
That's
the
the
thing.
beauty
I
of it.
would not when I was a child, I could do so many of these things just so organically. And
Yeah, I used to
it
climb
was
this tree that was like twice the height of our house, and we had like a two-story house, and this thing was, it was like a hemlock, or like a type of pine tree. It was huge, and I would climb it all the way to the top, where it got like this big around the trunk, and just lounge out there and just check out the whole city. And even as a kid, I would always think, man, this looks exactly like a circuit board. We're looking
yeah,
down, like, okay, these are like the connections, and that would be like a capacitor, that would be a coil,
yeah.
you know?
Mm.
That's amazing. See, and I couldn't see it as a circuit board, but I could see it as patterns. I
Yeah.
could see it as uh like veins through the earth, like
Hmm.
roots. I would be shown in nature constructs. That's how they would show me because I didn't understand any technology in my
Hmm.
consciousness. I was 3 and 4 and 7. Yeah, none of that was in there at all. So they
Hmm.
would show me like the mushroom psilocybin thing. They would show me that like grids. And when I was a
Mhm.
little kid, I used to draw all the time spirals and checkerboards. So they were
Spirals
showing
and
me all
checkerboard.
the time
Yeah.
that the energy is traveling through the grid, the black and whites, and they were showing me, and they're like,
Mhm.
and when you're in between, that's when you're gray. They're like, gray is confusion. Gray is when you don't know which way to go, or you're just stuck going, not knowing what to do. They're like gray there. So they would
Mhm.
show me all this stuff when I was a kid, and it was so profound. And I look at this all the time. It's like, what is the nature of our reality? I know it's a realm and it's a construct. And now I can see the computer part of it. And I can see how this body
Mhm.
is a brilliant bioorganic holographic machine, but it's
Yeah.
nonetheless, it's a machine. And I'm utilizing it for this experience, and then it will be done. So
Mhm.
when I'm looking at these realms, I'm like, what is this place? Is this a construct? It seems like it's a sphere, and what I keep being seen is it's a sphere with
Mhm.
12 layers of realms in it. But each one of those realms, this is where my brain explodes, has dimensions within each realm. So each realm has multiple bands of dimensions within the realm. And these
Mhm.
realms are right on top of each other, just like
Mhm.
our chakra system would be seen. So then, and then I'm seeing, okay, so there's 12 major realms of the earth. That is what I'm seeing. And then they're showing me all the dimensions inside. And then when I get into the dimensions, they're showing me it's like diamonds
Mhm.
inside the dimension. So from the diamond is emanating all these different facets of light, all different directions. And that's where you
Mhm.
get time, because
That's
the
the
time
implosion and the
comes from
explosion.
yeah, well, the time is coming from the diamond because
Mhm.
it's expanding in 360 degrees and it's flashing and it's going in all different directions, different colors, and it's recording
Mhm.
everything. That's what they're showing me, and that's the diamonds in the sky. And then I was thinking about, oh my God, okay, well then they say the stars are fixed in the
Mhm.
firmament. So
Yeah.
that means that those points of lights are us and we're trapped in the firmament.
Something like that. Something like that. Because those spirals that you were drawing, that's the power of the implosion versus the explosion, the external versus the internal. The grids that you were drawing, that's the Cartesian control grid of the matrix that we're
Yeah.
stuck in right now. And each one of those levels that you saw is like a different game where, to
Yes,
interact on that level, you have to have the right rules, know the rules, and have the right
that's the
piece.
soul.
In other words, if you're playing somebody in a game of pool, you're not going to win by setting up chess pieces on the pool table. You know?
Correct. Yep. And that's what I think the soul does. The soul has the ability to take on the construct. So
Yeah.
when the soul enters into the construct, it gets defined by the realm. The realm codes the body through the soul, but the soul
Yeah.
has the universal construct information within it, but it
Hmm.
takes what it needs for your body or whatever you're inhabiting in that realm to function in that realm and have a basic construct of that realm. And I think that's what goes into the DNA, is so
Hmm.
you can have an understanding from the past people that have been there, or beings or whatever they are. So you have a foundation of an instinctual knowing, so you can operate in that construct, or you wouldn't last 2 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just like you wouldn't, if you had no DNA in this realm, you wouldn't last
Yeah,
2 minutes because
not 2 minutes, right? You could never,
every
right?
living
You'd
thing
never
has DNA.
exist.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
So that's pretty much a very good analogy of it. Yeah. Where I feel the same way that souls, they come here to interact, to play this game and to advance themselves, to get better at whatever it is that they're supposed to be learning in this particular game. And just like DNA can recombine, DNA can split, DNA can fuse, DNA can mutate, and so can the soul.
Yes.
So
Yes.
can the soul. That's why, because the original soul was what we would call God, which split into two, which then each part
Mhm.
split into two, split into two, split into four, six, 16, 64, the whole
Yep.
9 yards.
Yep.
So that's
Yep.
why that's why right now you have 8 billion souls on the planet, which is more souls than have before now even existed. We've never had this many souls on the
See, I don't
planet,
think that's
dead or
true.
alive.
I think
Well,
I think
see,
we've
that's
had
what we're
more.
expected to. I know that's what we're expected to believe, and we have no way of independently verifying this. I mean, I live in a city of 40,000 people, but is there any easy way for me to verify that there's actually 40,000 people living here?
Right.
You
And
know?
Dalabar, I think that's one of the most important reasons that they have to keep the population numbers down, because
Yeah.
I think the number of souls that were created for like this type of experience, like there might be a number of it. I don't know if there is or not, but what they show me every time I ask that question, they're like, kind of like, duh, as
Hmm.
above, so below. So when they tell me I say, how many souls are there in this whole situation? They said, how many cells are in your body? That's
Yes.
all they tell me. How many
Yeah.
cells are in your body? So what, 3.5 trillion or something? Or that's what it is.
Depends on who you ask.
That's what I mean. So they're like, well, how many cells are in your body? All bodies have a little bit of a different, depending on the size, whatever. But basically, roughly, when you want to ask these questions, all you have to do is look at the world around you, because as above, so below, as within, so without.
So
So
without,
I'm
yeah.
like, how many souls? How many cells? That's what they
Hmm.
tell me every time. How many
Hmm.
souls? Well,
How
how
many
many
souls? How
cells?
many souls? Yeah. Good analogy. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but even
God's
so, like
simple,
even.
for real.
But even with let's say if you assume that the 8 billion figure is an understatement, that's still a very large number. And when you consider the fact that I met somebody with the exact same scar on the exact same hand, the same exact shape, same exact length, so theoretically the chances of that are more than 1 in 8 billion, which in and of itself
What
is
if
kind of mind blowing.
But you know what I just saw in my head? They were like, okay, but what if you, as a soul in a construct, what if the 3 trillion or so cells in your body are
Hmm.
all potentially existing in the different realms of this reality?
Hmm. Well, in a sense they are,
So
because some of them.
you could be existing in 3 trillion other opportunities simultaneously as a
Yeah.
cell in a different matrix. And so all of these bodies, they could be
Hmm.
fractals of a very small group, but they fractal out in billions of different directions and billions of different ways, because our Merkaba is
Hmm.
spinning like a diamond in the sky, and it's shooting light in all these different directions, and all of them are consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I
crazy.
I think I see what you're saying, and I think I agree with that because I've moved internationally so far. It would be something like 8 times, right? Where I've relocated to a different country on a different continent, I must say, and every time I would get like uh, doppelgangers, people that I thought I knew, but I'd have to like I'd come up to them and say, "Hey, what's up?" And it would be somebody completely different, even though he would be the spitting image, same clothes, same
Wow.
walk, same everything as like somebody I knew in the United States. You know,
Yep. Yep.
which
Yep.
goes to show you that what if that's the same soul living in two different bodies on two different continents, where there's zero chance of those two interacting ever, and
Yeah.
nobody's going to connect the dots, only somebody like me. And if I tell somebody about it, they're probably going to be like, oh well, you're probably just mistaken, your eyesight's not that good. um
Well, Dalibor, I have a strange story. When I was in high school for 3 weeks, all of my friends kept telling me, hey, I saw you at the bowling alley. I'm like, I didn't go to the bowling alley. They're like, dude, we saw you at the bowling alley. I'm like, I wasn't at the bowling alley. They're like, whatever. And they'd walk away. I kept hearing it, kept hearing it. Finally, I kept hearing, no, there's a girl working at the bowling alley and she's your doppelganger. She's your twin. She looks just like you. She sounds like you. She has the same hair as you. And her name was Teresa and I was
oh my
Trina. So our names were even
god. So
similar. So
similar.
she was Teresa, I was Trina. And then
Hmm.
so everybody kept calling her Trina at the bowling alley and she was getting pissed and she wouldn't answer to the name. So
Uh-huh.
so I went to go finally see this girl because I kept hearing it. I was like, oh, whatever. I didn't,
Yeah.
whatever. After 3 weeks of hearing it, I'm like, I'm going to see this girl at the bowling alley. I went there.
Uh-huh.
She left the day before to move out of the state. So as soon as I went to
Oh
see
my
her, she
god.
was gone.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, You prevented like worlds from colliding, literally,
I
like an
guess so,
implosion.
man, because she was gone. I mean, and she was there
That's
for 3 weeks, and then she was
that's
gone. The day I went to go there, she was gone 24 hours, just one day.
that's
Yep.
incredible. That's incredible. Yeah, the
Yeah, that
Matrix
was
is
really
protecting itself.
weird.
Yeah, the Matrix
Huh?
is protecting itself because who knows what you may have told her,
Yeah,
or she may have told you, or what if that
right.
was your soul?
And
What if
just
that?
to see your reflection when you don't
Hmm.
have a twin,
Yeah,
that's right there would be intense because they
yeah,
said, no, she sounds like you, she walks like you, she talks like you. They're like, we argued with her and she
yeah.
got so pissed off she almost made us get kicked out of the bowling alley. But we thought you were screwing with us, Trina. I'm like, no, it was not me. I'm like,
Yeah,
I was not at the bowling alley fighting with you. I
yeah,
promise.
yeah, yeah.
They're like, well, it's
That's
weird. You need to go
amazing.
see this girl. I was like, okay, I will.
Yeah, yeah.
Gone.
That's weird. Yeah.
Gone.
I mean, you have many such like instances of like the Matrix revealing itself as being something
Yeah.
that it can't possibly be. In other words, that it's intelligently controlled, intelligently designed in some way. You have so many bizarre coincidences. Just the stuff that's happened to me with my mobile phone, the one I bought last, and where I my old cell phone broke, so I was asking around various people like, what would you recommend as a brand of cell phone? And everybody was saying, well, get yourself a Samsung Galaxy because that's what I had, and including my next door neighbor. Now, so I found one on eBay, a used one, paid for it, except that the confirmation code for sending the payment was 412166, which was my telephone number from 30 years ago minus 40. Okay. The exact telephone number minus 40. Then I get the package in the mail, and it's from the lady that used to live in that apartment where the guy who recommended that I buy that phone from. So I bought it from her, and she used to live
Hmm.
in that apartment. It's like
That's so
literally, what are the
strange.
chances? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like I
It's
said, the universe is mind blowing. The universal construct is so mind blowing, and I
mm,
think that we're starting to figure out now finally how to utilize it, how to
mhm,
reconnect with how we got shut off. We're starting to investigate the potential that maybe we have been shut off, and the potential is like, okay, well, how do you fix it? Because there's nothing that's broken we can't fix. I
true.
I know that this is true. I know it. So
Hmm.
you know, we
The
are, I think,
thing
at a
we should.
level of consciousness that
Mhm,
is going to create a lot of problems because we're going to be breaking free.
yeah,
So through
yeah.
that, it's going to be a little bit of a rocky ride because when you break free from your prison, the wardens go a little crazy for a while. So it's going
Hmm.
to be a little bit of a ride.
Hmm. Yeah, and see what it's going to show us, I think, is A, we are much more powerful than we'd even like to believe. B, we're even more powerful than these evildoers, these elites that control us for nefarious ends. And C, there's going to be a mass awakening of this, and it's going to trigger changes unlike any we've ever seen before. Because, as we discussed before the show, nothing that we were afraid of 30, 40 years ago ever materialized the way we thought it would materialize. All
Right.
these
And you
conspiracies,
want to know
everything
why?
was different. Why?
You want to know why? It's because our consciousness is changed. And
Yeah.
now they show me over and over and over again. You guys are so powerful if you would just believe it. They were showing me like if 10 of us
Hmm.
prayed peace over
Hmm.
Ukraine, it would
Hmm.
block out almost like 10,000 dark people wanting to create war. So it's like
Hmm.
the small groups that are positively projecting into the matrix.
Hmm.
Wow, guys, we just have no idea how powerful this truly really is. It really is. And when we come together, that's why when two or more come together, there's something seriously beautiful, powerful with that. But you got to
Yeah.
figure how do you think these people have put all of these things that we're dealing with into place? Because they knew how to do this. They knew how to
Because
come
they
together and manifest through ritual and prayer and black
exactly.
magic and all kinds of magic to manifest.
Hmm.
Now we know how to do this.
Yeah,
And
and we
whenever
can do
we
the
do
same.
this, yeah, but we're doing it with love and with
Hmm.
service to others as the
Hmm.
intent behind it. So the power and the force of that, because it's positive polarized, it connects to the sun. And the
Hmm.
sun is the system operating system for the data stream for this planet is the
Hmm.
sun and the moon. So
Hmm.
the sun, when you get connected to the sun, you can connect to the solar logos, and that connects to the grand central sun. So
Hmm.
when all of these rays start coming into us because we're utilizing light. So light
Hmm.
usually travels through the sun. Moon has light rays too. They're different light, but it's nonetheless it's still light. Even though it's darker light, it's silver light instead of white light. It's different, but
It's also no
this is
coincidence.
now us. We got it,
Yeah, it's
huh?
also no coincidence. It's also no coincidence that the internet runs on mainly routers made by Sun Microsystems.
Absolutely. And all of the boards and stuff inside are all done with silver.
Yeah, silver. Exactly. Yeah, every keyboard contains silver in it. Silver
They have to
to make a
because you
connection.
have to have a processor, which is the mind, to
Hmm.
connect the moon to the sun.
Hmm. Yeah, and the
They have to
processor
have a
contains
bridge.
gold.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
So
gotta have
we've
the
heard about
bridge.
the power of prayer for like centuries, and we know that we are powerful if we, like you said, if we get together and focus our intentions the way they're doing it for nefarious purposes, and we do it for like beneficial purposes. Yes, we can literally move mountains and change the world. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, I have a great little project I would love to try with you guys, but we won't be able to do this live. But we could maybe do a major invite for the Soul Tribe and do something on a private side of this
sure,
because
yeah.
you guys would be really excited about this, and I think it would be a very powerful key for connection. And it doesn't matter how far we are, because
Hmm.
Dalibor, I right now I'm sitting in your heart and sending you a hug, and nobody can stop me. So there you
Yeah,
go. You know, it
I
doesn't
know.
matter if you're
Yep,
on the other side of the world. And Robert, you're at the other side of the United States. Haha, just got
yeah,
you too. You know,
yeah, yeah,
it's like
exactly.
we travel with thought. So
Hmm.
there's no distance between us because
Hmm.
all we have to do is have a connection with a thought and an emotion. And you guys have been part of my life for so long. I have so much emotion. There's
Hmm.
so much to work with there. So thank you for my fire.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. It's like we're meeting in a place that's neither in this dimension or in uh, the higher realms. It's like the lower fourth dimension that we're meeting in, where it's not in any particular location, but everywhere and
Yeah,
nowhere at the same time. And it's all because of
yeah,
focused thought. Like, okay, yeah, I follow this StreamYard link. I go to StreamYard and poof, there you are.
yes,
So
yes,
mhm,
yes, yes, yes.
it's all intent. Intent.
Yeah, it is. It is so much intent. Like I said, we we um we've limited ourselves because of the presence of our physical bodies. But when
Yeah.
you take away the body, you're back to what you already were. And it
Hmm.
was just like having a beautiful communication with Brian a couple weeks ago with another one of our Soul Tribe members, which was such an amazing experience. It's like he's not physically here, but I
Hmm.
got to see him just like it was.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
feel it just like it's real.
Yeah.
And that is so beautiful. So we have this. We can do this and we can do this together and we can change this damn world. And that's why we came here.
Yeah.
So, yes, Chloe, Amber, Dawn, all of you, we are going to win and we will
Hmm.
do this. And yes, all of you who want to be involved, let's start doing this because this is really what will change the world.
Hmm.
It's these small little actions that have real love. The
Hmm.
just it doesn't have to be big. I keep hearing it's like the greatest changes will come from the smallest of things, and then they keep showing me the parable of the mustard seed. They're
Hmm.
like, it doesn't need to be big. It's so small, but it has such a profound effect because we're making rings. They're showing me rings of creation, just like you throw a pebble in a pond. They're like,
Yeah.
you guys just start the waves and you let the universe do what it knows how to do. But all we have to do is initiate the waves. You just got to throw that rock in the water, and that's all of us coming together and saying, today we want to see one thing. We want to see peace. And that's it. We just do it our
Yeah.
own way. None of us has no rules, no nothing. You just do it the way you do it. But in your mind, imagine we're all holding hands in a circle doing it together. And all of our different imagination ideas are manifesting over our head in a cloud. It's the most beautiful thing. That's what I see. I see all of your ideas like shooting out of your heart, and it's going up into the middle of this circle. And I can see parts and pieces of all of them. And it's like all of them are different, but they're all so in resonance.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they're
It's
different.
almost
But
kind of
it's
like
beautiful.
yeah. I did something like that in 1987. It was called Hands Across America. Remember that?
Ah,
I was there. I was on Route 17
that's
in Rochelle
awesome.
Park. Yeah, in
Yeah,
Rochelle
I
Park.
did I started doing stuff with but believe it or not, the Galactic Federation was Sheldon Neidl back in 1990.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
That
I'm
was
not
my
familiar with
first
him. Yeah.
group collective stuff I started participating in, and then I got I got notified to be a part of the Crystal Network, which is
Mhm.
like Karen does that, but this one was from 30 years ago. And I
Oh,
was a
wow.
participant in that. And we were doing collective consciousness experiments, and we were getting results back then. In Dalibor, there was such a smaller group, and none of us had any kind of connection to each other. We didn't know each other. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It wasn't
Mhm.
like this group. So,
Mhm.
like, they're showing me, they're like, compared to what you did back then, compared to what you can do now, yeah, you
Mhm.
had 200 participants simultaneously on those things at least.
Mhm.
And they're showing me, they're like, it doesn't matter. 10 of you could do what those 200,000 did back then, right now, because of your consciousness. I was like,
Mhm.
snap, really? They were like,
Mhm.
really?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, see, that Hands Across America thing, that was huge. That was like a couple of 100,000 people holding hands across the entire United States.
Yes,
Yeah, and the
yes.
synergy, the energy, the positivity, it was like through the roof. I've never experienced anything like that before.
Oh gosh, you're
It like literally,
Dalabar. You know
it
what?
changed my life. It changed my
You
life.
and you know what, Dalabar? You know that you have the master key healing vibration in your body now because you experience that frequency. That's yours, buddy. You
Yeah,
recorded it in your flesh. That
yeah,
is your key. You
it
can
is.
heal people with that frequency. Straight up miraculous healings can come from that
Hmm.
vibration. That's why I said I think the most profound healers happen because they've had to heal themselves, and they've
Hmm.
experienced these frequencies, they've experienced these things. And once you get these feelings of these
Hmm.
supernatural experiences in your body, you hold
Hmm.
that frequency. So now you are the antenna to give it out to everybody else who can receive it.
That's true. Yeah, yeah, because I know what
Yeah.
it feels like now. Yeah.
And that's what I
Hmm.
said. Whenever you see us in the circle, focus
Hmm.
on what you felt like when you were connecting with the whole world, because you will bring that into our circle. You'll
Yeah,
ignite it.
yeah, yeah,
That is
yeah.
powerful, beautiful manifestation, beautiful, loving,
Hmm.
positive, powerful manifestation potential. It is a
Hmm.
master key right there. That is a key to a big
Hmm.
treasure box.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I know.
beautiful.
I know. Yeah, and same with like all the other like weird paranormal experiences that I've had happen to me. I mean, like I tell people, I've experienced literally every aspect of the paranormal except for alien abduction, which is not good in and of itself. So I know what this realm is capable of, and I know what I'm capable of. Now it's only a question of like getting together with other people and multiplying our power from there and
Yeah.
focus because a lot of us want different things like this, and a lot of us want different things at different times. Like I could wake up in the morning and be like, I wish there would be fewer crime. I wish there wouldn't be inflation. I wish there would be peace, and then by the time I get to the evening, I wish, I don't know, I wish gas was cheaper or something like that. So we have to focus on, okay, what's the dominant thing that we really need? And I would say that the dominant thing we really need is peace. because
Yeah, I
they've been
think
using wars
it's
to manipulate us for all these centuries, because it's always
all of,
divide and
yes.
conquer, and it's never
And
the
that's the thing. I
people.
think peace is where we can start, because it's been shown through consciousness experiments. When they
Yeah.
bring monks into war zones, it
Hmm.
literally reduces the energy, the death. I mean, it does. It's a
Yeah.
measurable difference. They did it in Washington, D.C. The crime
Hmm.
dropped by 82%.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, it's palatable. These are big readings of change. So, like I said, I think the most right now, peace. Because
Hmm.
if we can create peace, we can feel peace, we will see peace, and it will help the world
Hmm.
stabilize a lot. And
Hmm.
then the other thing I keep seeing is reconnect to your oversoul consciousness. Connect back to the God mind. Do everything that you can to tune your radio station back into your higher consciousness. It's
Yeah.
literally like an antenna. So you just got to play with that dial a little bit and intend that you are going to get a stronger connection to your oversoul and
Hmm.
your divine stream of consciousness, all about you, not bringing anybody else in, not saying nobody else, just you.
Hmm.
Just you. Yes, Chloe. You're going to go on Robert's. Chloe wants to share her message with Brian. She's going on tomorrow, right? With you,
Yeah.
Robert?
Yes. She's on.
Okay,
She's on.
well, hopefully send me a link, because I would love to be a part of that. And Chloe, I hope you do share your story. I can't wait for you to share your story. I'm so excited.
Hmm.
So excited. So excited. Yeah.
Yeah, you
So
can
that'll be fun.
join their Amber and Chloe will be on tomorrow night, 9 o'clock.
Wonderful.
We Chloe actually we got her on, and it's kind of a pre-taped show because she was having
Awesome.
problems with her phone, or we didn't know if she was going to have connection, but she ended up using the computer. It was really good. She went all the way through, no problems, and we got a really good. So I hope everybody can join us tomorrow night for that. It's going to be really awesome. Chloe's debut on the Milky Way.
Hmm.
I love it. I love it.
Cool.
And hopefully we can have her on some more now that she knows how it works.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it's so great. Chloe trusted and did a session with me, and it was wonderful. It was really wonderful. So hopefully she'll share with you guys, and you guys can see a little bit of how her little ride went.
She did share some of that with us, and so you got to tune in tomorrow to find out, everybody. So yeah, it was real good. I really enjoy this. This was really good. I mean, I think the whole thing is that we've been under a spell for so long, and then we've been told, just like you tell a little kid, hey, you can't do that. You're not supposed to do that. This is what you're supposed to do. This is how you're supposed to act. That we've never really been taught what our powers are. It's like riding a bicycle. If I told the little kid, hey, you can't ride a bicycle, there's no way you're going to do it. And like Dalibor, you were talking about how the kids were in real big trouble. Well, now the kids aren't going to ride a bicycle because, hey, we substituted you riding a bicycle because you might get hurt with virtual bicycling.
Yeah.
And now you can sit here, put on the Google goggles, and you can bicycle all you want safe.
Yeah. And it's safe.
And now you don't have to go outside and jump off the roof or build that parachute or try to fly or ride the bicycle. You can do it virtually. And then eventually somebody will say 20, 30, 40 years from now, I don't know how to imagine anything. I can't ride a bicycle. Oh my gosh. That's like terrifying.
Yeah, they're not even going to know how to
where AI sits.
How to use a keyboard.
Yeah. That's
But at the
exactly
same time,
what AI. It's the same
that's what
thing.
AI. Yeah. I know. It's like taking over aspects of human consciousness that are going to go vestigial if we don't actively stop this. And besides the fact that we really have to get mature, we're still thinking like little kids even in our old age, because we're still like tribal. We still elect people to be like the supreme leader of this city, the supreme leader of this state, the supreme leader of this country. That is so tribal and so primitive and so incompatible with even basic things like human equality. Since when, should some president like be the supreme leader of like a country? And why do I allude to that? Because it's these supreme leaders that wage the wars. It's not the people of, Germany. Do you think anybody has any evil in their heart towards the people of Russia? No, they don't. If anything, they like them. Do I
I
have any
love my
evil
brothers and
towards
sisters.
them? No, none.
I
They're
mean,
exactly like me.
I love everybody. I love you, Dalibor, and you're over there, and I don't care where
Mhm,
you are. I love you, Robert.
mhm,
We're across the United States from each other. I love you. You're my brother. It don't matter. We love each other. It doesn't matter
mhm,
where we live. It doesn't matter what our color, what our culture, what our race, what our belief is, what our religion is. We're
mhm.
all soul family, and we need
Yes.
to integrate that, and we need to work with each other because these guys have
Mhm,
always taken us to destroy each other and turned us against each other, and it's always
mhm.
been such a small group.
Yeah.
I hope I get to live to see the day where I actually see humanity standing up for humanity instead of their leader. That
Yeah.
is my greatest gift if I could ever receive one. It
Yeah.
would to be
Mhm,
my people protecting
mhm,
me, and I'm protecting them and loving them, and we know we got each other's backs, and there's
mhm.
nobody over any of us. And the one
Exactly.
that wins the most respect is the one that does the most for the people they love and the people around them. And
Mhm.
that is what we all truly want, anyways.
Exactly. Yeah. All of us truly want peace. Nobody wants war. Nobody wants
Yeah.
hardship. Nobody wants
And we want to
sanctions.
be
Nobody.
loved and
Yeah.
appreciated by the people we care about. We
Exactly.
just want to
Well.
feel needed and
That
important,
Mhm,
and like we're doing a good job for our fellow tribe, for the people
mhm.
in our immediate little, vicinity, and
Circle. Yeah.
do what we can,
Mhm,
yeah, for the ones we can touch, and then send the ones you can with the love, and focus on the
mhm,
ones that you can't be close to, but the ones you can get close to and touch and affect.
mhm.
That's where we got to start.
Exactly. Yeah. Change begins at the meeting point between
Boom.
others, self and others. And you can
Yeah.
only expand that by expanding your comfort zone and basically expanding your circle of friends, expanding your reach.
yeah. And one important thing, unlearn what you've been taught.
Yeah,
You know,
Yes.
yeah, that's a good
because
one.
it's like you said, going to war. None of us want to go to war. I
No,
don't have
fuck
anything.
that.
Yeah, I don't have anything against those people, but some rich
Yeah,
Me
guy
neither.
brainwashes some young guy and says, that guy over there is the enemy. Here's a gun. You go out, shoot him before he shoots you, so we can get our country back because he wants to take us over. And
Yep.
the guy on the other side's telling that guy the same thing.
yeah.
Yep.
It's like
That's it.
Gandhi said it to one of his like advisors who was kind of a militant. He said, "Okay, if you want to go to war, then go home and shoot your father." He's like, "Well, why should I do
Yes.
that?" And he's like, "Well, because
That's
what
what you're
difference is
doing.
it? What difference is it between shooting your own father and shooting somebody else's father or
Right.
grandfather? You know,
Right.
because
Because
every
Dalibor,
person
if
has
what
the
I
same
see is
value."
true, if what I see is true, that
Hmm.
is the most profoundly true statement I've heard in a long time. Because if you can go kill their father or their brother or their son or their daughter, then you should go
Yeah.
home and take out your own, because
Hmm.
the fractal might be them
Yeah.
anyways. So you
Yeah.
really might be telling the truth with that. That, like, when
Hmm.
you said that, I was like, there is a lot of truth to that he doesn't understand. I mean, this might be real. This
Yeah.
really could be
Yeah.
true. So you
Exactly.
are, when you kill or harm another person, you might be killing your very own sister, brother, mother, uncle, grandfather.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
don't know, but you really
Mhm.
could be, because it's a part of them. You
And
just didn't know it was.
ultimately you're killing yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Ultimately.
Yes.
Ultimately.
Ultimately it's dehumanizing of the human race. We would be so much farther if we actually had a system to prevent this. And the UN is a joke. It's a joke. They've existed
Yes.
for what, 80 something years, and they've not prevented a single war.
No.
Not a single
Yes.
one.
They,
Yes.
they,
So what,
they've started more wars than they prevented.
exactly. They're useless. They should convert those two buildings in Midtown Manhattan into like a high-rise parking lot. it would be more useful than what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Wow,
Yeah.
we went quite a while here. I don't know if you guys
Yeah,
want
we
to
have.
continue go, but I think we should probably wrap it up and bring it back another day. Man, we got to get together and get the Soul Tribe together for who wants to participate. Trina and Dalibor, we'll do it. If you want to do that, we will get them together and make the world, change the world. I love it. And
exactly.
One fractal at a time.
That's right. We've had a great audience tonight. I want to shout out to all the people who are here. And Travis is in the house. Chloe, Mary Wins, Off the Hook, Pa Joe. Oh my gosh. Let's see. There was Gaza Cav, who just got himself a new job of manifesting. Nina the Mystic says everybody missed the card pulls on her channel. I wish people would go over there. But anyway, she's got a big Halloween costume contest thing going on. Go over there and register. Check out her thing. All you got to do is put a comment, share, like, and subscribe, or whatever you got to do. And hey, show up in a costume. I just ordered one myself. And but Chloe's here. She was getting tired, falling asleep, but she will be on with Amber Dawn tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. Amber's in the house too. She says she loves it. This was great. Michelle Can-Am Free. Oh man, we had Deborah Sloan was in the house. I think she's here too yet. I don't know. Man, we had a lot of commentator was in the house. Elderberry, Musgrave Griffin was in the house. Saturnian's son. Oh my, we had a lot. And Ray of Thoth, Paul from Newcastle, Teresa D'Anton was in the house, and Lori from Pure Love Ascension. I think I got everybody covered who was here tonight, and Witchy Moon, and Lee, and I tell you, we had quite the tribe in here tonight, and I appreciate each and every one of them. And I hope they got something really great out of this. I tell you, this is really good. Makes you think. Go home, think about it. If you're interested in any of this stuff and you have something to say, you can email me. Email is in the description below, milkywaysoultribe@gmail.com. And if you want to participate, email me. Say, hey, I want to participate. Send me some kind of note or message, and we'll get some names together, and we will make this happen. You can be a part of it, everyone. All of you. Nobody's more special than anybody else, and you're all special. You all can do it. We've discussed that here tonight. You're just being held back by your beliefs. And because you were taught that way. We're under the spell. Let's break the spell, get out of it, change the world. We can do it. That's what I got out of this. We can do it.
We can do it.
We will do it.
We can do it.
We will.
We will do it.
That's right. Don't try, said Yoda.
Do.
Just do. Just do. That's what it all boils down to. And thank you both for coming on tonight. This has been great.
It's been a pleasure.
I got to sit back and just enjoy the ride.
I love it.
It was great.
You're a great bus driver, though, Robert.
Thank you so much. Especially being on a Sunday special drive tonight, so it's all good. But don't forget, everybody, join us tomorrow night, and you get to see Chloe and Amber and myself. And boy, what a discussion that was! I tell you, mind blowing too. So with that. No, don't forget Tuesday nights, Native American Myths and Legends. And then we'll be back on Saturday night again. I don't know who will be coming, but we will have some great stuff for you then too. So remember, go out and do something nice for yourself, overflow your cup, and spread it to everybody else around you, because you want to be the frequency you want to receive, everyone. Love y'all. Peace, everybody.